Stay tuned for another episode of the Coming Soon podcast with sPidA.
Hey everybody, sPidA here once again, Coming Soon podcast, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas, being joined by Mike Lombardo, my man. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, bro. I mean, of course, work day. I had to go to work earlier, unfortunately, but turns out nobody pays my bill, so what can I do, right?
Same. I've been trying to get a job as a cam girl, but nobody's buying, so.
I know, bro. I was going to go work. What happened to equal opportunity, right? We got to make money too, right? But my man, of course, I mean, when it comes to my guest, I mean, you're one of them, of course, but this film, man, we're going to talk about this project that you're working on right now. You're currently funding, and it sounds like a pretty cool project, man. I mean, just the name itself, Dead Format, that alone kind of intrigued me. I was like, okay, I got to find out more. Tell us, with the name like that, man, what exactly does that entail?
So Dead Format is a story about a young VHS collector. This is set in like the early 2000s, right before the video stores started going out of business. So this young VHS collector is he loses his father, so he's kind of dealing with that and some family stuff, and then he finds out that the video store that he used to go to growing up, Video Castle, which got a little fake video store we created, but he goes down there to buy up all of their tapes, and he finds a movie that he's never heard of before, which we have right here, called Next to Die, with no description or anything, and he's very confused. So he picks it up and brings it home, and it ends up being a cursed tape, and bad things happen. So it's kind of playing with that old trope of the movie coming to life, but then there's some other stuff that goes on, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's good fun. Sure.
But man, I mean, I've been following your page, bro, and I mean, when it comes to the layout, you guys actually created a whole video store.
Yes, we did. Video Castle.
Yes, bro. How did you guys accomplish that, man?
So Video Castle is actually, in real life, it is Vortex Books and Comics, which is Brian Keene's bookstore. Brian Keene is our executive producer. He's a very well-known horror author. I had been trying to get this. It was going to be a short film originally, for years. I was like, we're going to do this. It was based on a short story I wrote a few years back. And I'm like, we're going to make this movie. And I'm like, the one thing that was always the sticking point was, where the fuck are we going to film a video store? Like, where are we going to get this location? So when Brian said, oh, I'm opening my own store, I was like, and he's like, before I could even say it, he's like, so we could shoot that video store in here. And I'm like, finally, the last piece of the puzzle. So we're going to shut the place down, gut it. I have actual video store shelving that I bought from a store that went out of business. Actually, if you watch the Indiegogo pitch video, the new release signs in the background was from a family video that went out of business. All of the stuff in there is all pieces of other video stores. So it's kind of like a Frankenstein together conglomeration. And then we're making all the fake tapes and everything to put in there and all that stuff. So,
man, bro, you see, and that's kind of one of those things. I mean, myself, I'm a hunter. I used to, I'm still delivering furniture for Big Lots, man. So out on the road a lot. But garage sales, estate sales, I picked up Blockbuster shelves throughout the years, man. I've picked up Hollywood Video metal shelves throughout the years, and I still have a few bits and pieces. But when it comes to like actual signage, bro, like I'm a sucker, man. Like I gotta buy it or I'll pick it up, But there's a lot that goes with it. It's like the other day, man, I was talking to somebody and I was just like, dude, I come in my room and it's like a time machine. I time travel. I go back to 1992. And, the simpler times, man, as far as us being young and not worrying too much about anything, right? But yeah, man. But I mean, being said, I mean, you said it was written years back. This is something that was personal to you.
This is extremely personal. Yeah, I wrote the short story back in, I want to say 2016, 17. My father passed away. And while I was dealing with that, my grandmother also passed away. So my mom was trying to find, she had a VHS tape of my grandparents had their wedding vows renewed, and they filmed it. We did it in our old house that I grew up in. So she had this tape, and she's like, hey, can you digitize this? So I hadn't watched this in 30 years, and I put it on, and I was like 5, and my brothers were all there, my cousins, uncles, so many of my family members that have passed away. My dad was there, and hearing their voices again, just seeing the house I grew up in, like it was a tidal wave. Like it just obliterated me. But I was like, wow, if we wouldn't, because back then, this is like 1994, I want to say, you had to rent like a shoulder mount VHS camera to like, we rented it from the video store to film this. And it's like, now everyone takes for granted. You got cell phones with cameras on them. Like in the future, you know, if anyone wanted to know what was it like living in the year 2024, it's like, well, let's see, on May 29th at 7:21 p.m. Eastern, Mario and Mike are talking about this thing. They can watch this like minute by minute what life was like.
Yeah.
But when you go back the generations, they don't have that. So filming something like a home movie was a special occasion. So it's like, if that footage didn't exist, it's like I would never hear those voices again. I'd never see that. And they're like digital ghosts. And so it's just, that kind of got my brain moving. And I started thinking about, you know, the video store era. Like, I grew up in the video store. Like, I spent all my time roaming those aisles and shit. And just discovering all those tapes and all that kind of stuff just swirled together. And I'm like, oh man, this is a great story idea. And I had this, you know, the trope of the movie coming to life. And I was like, this would be really funny. This is a mild spoiler for anyone who is listening, so be aware. But it's like, you know, whenever you watch those movies where like the tape comes to life, and it's like, what if they just paused the tape or like rewound it? Like, what the hell would happen? And that's kind of, that joke morphed. Like, I started writing that story, and then all the personal shit kind of moved in, and it just became this really, really personal
nice, man,
piece about grief. And when the book got published, you know, people were emailing me like, oh my God, dude, this book had me in tears. Like, the story was so emotional. I remember all this shit. And it's all about just painful nostalgia and grief. And, you know, like you said, time travel, that's really what it is, you know? And what would you give to go back even for 5 minutes? Like, what would you do to do that, you know?
Man, I would give my neighbor's Honda Civic for that, man. That thing is noisy, bro. I'll get rid of that thing quick. But that's true though, man, because for the most part, man, and I'm gonna show you a little tour, bro. I wasn't planning on this, so excuse the mess. But like when it comes to my posters, all these are video store posters, like coming soon, you know, to VHS, coming soon, rentals. I've got nostalgic signs, I've got banters, advertisement signs. I mean, you name it, bro. Like I pick up stuff. I mean, I am a pack rat, man, but a lot of this stuff, it's personal because I remember something that happened. Oh man, I was with my dad when we saw this movie, and oh, dude, my brother's birthday, we bought this movie, or you know, this happened, and so it's just I have to pick it up. You know, it's yesterday I actually had a guest, and let me show you real quick, man, not to overtake your interview, but you know, if you have a phone on your profile, man, check this out. This is our old family phone, bro. When my mom upgraded and she was like, "Oh, get rid of that thing," I said, "Man, I'm gonna keep it, man." I said, "You know how many prank calls I made with this thing?"
Absolutely, dude. There's so much, and the thing about nostalgia is, and you know, you said you're a pack rat. My house is like a museum. Like, you can't. This is a very small section. I have my downstairs, especially right now, is all full of props. Like, I have a 7-foot suit of armor for the video store down there right now. My girlfriend loves that. But it's like all these things. It's like people are like, "Man, you're a pack rat." It's like, no, all these things have such sentimental attachment to them, and it's not the object itself; it's the memories you attach to it.
Oh, yeah.
So it looks like a piece of junk to somebody else, but it's like, I remember everywhere, every video I own. I remember where I was when I bought it, who I was with, and I attached. Some people were like that with songs. It's like, oh, I know exactly where I was the first time I heard this. I know exactly where I was the first time I rented the Blob '87 remake. Like,
damn,
those are big moments in your life. And it's like, you know, my cousin came over and had a sleepover, rented Dead Alive, Peter Jackson's movie, because the cover was neat. Like, that changed my life, you know? So I'm lucky I still have a lot of those old tapes and a lot of the stuff that I grew up with, but that's, you know, that's what it is. Like, nostalgia I honestly feel like it's not just like, oh, that was cool, I remember having that thing when I was a kid. It's more about the emotions and the impact those items had on your life. You know, when you're a kid and you're watching these movies for the first time, you know, like right now, I could ask you about a popular horror movie and you would have a view on it, or I'd have a view on it. And that no matter how much we'd like to not think this, it's influenced by the internet, by social media. Oh, is it cool to like this? Is it cool not to like this?
Oh, yeah.
I hate that. But when you're a child and you put on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and Frankenhooker, you're seeing that. It's like you're like a sponge. You're absorbing that for the first time. And it's like, I didn't even know I liked this thing until now. So it's formulating this eventual obsession, and I think that's what nostalgia really is just a little glimpse back into that moment. Like, it's the magic of being a kid.
No, I agree, man. I mean, it's just one of those things, you know. It's like the other day also, I was telling somebody, like, watching horror movies in the 80s, listening to the soundtracks. Like, I was like, man, I was a fan of punk rock music before I knew what punk rock was. It's just, I remember listening to it. And when I found out, like, in high school or middle school, high school, what it was, I'm like, dude, I know that band. Like, everybody's like, from where? Where'd you hear that? I'm like, dude, I've been watching so-and-so film for years. And it's
Living Dead or something. It's like, oh, that's kind of cramps.
But that's cool, man. But of course, I mean, so that being said, I mean, this film, it was supposed to be a short. You decided to go ahead and do the feature film. I mean, how exciting is that for you, man, to be able to actually go from a short to a feature film?
It's pretty exciting. I was dragged kicking and screaming by my producers into feature land. So my first feature film, I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday, was a post-apocalyptic Christmas movie that was also based on a short film or a short story that I had written. That was originally going to be a short film as well, and because that was my first time like making a feature, we were filming it, and I was like, okay, I was doing like a rough cut, and I'm like, all right, we've got about 35 minutes of movie here, and we're only halfway through this shoot. And I was like, I think that we might accidentally have made a feature. So then it's like, oh shit, now we have to add stuff, and then we ran out of money, of course, and beg, borrow, steal, got all that made. So this time I was a little bit more I don't want to say wiser about it, because I certainly wasn't, but I was more prepared for this eventuality. So when everyone told me that the screenplay I had was not a 30-minute short film, which if you're in the film festival world is a death sentence. You don't make 30-minute short films. It doesn't happen. They're like, dude, this is a feature. It's paced like a feature. And after months of being harassed, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just make it a feature. And then that opened the door to expand the characters and the backstories and all this stuff. And it just started pouring out of me. And I was like, man, I didn't even realize I was dealing with some of this shit until I started writing this stuff. And then my producer, Nathan Ludwig, is coming on as a co-writer to help get some stuff in. And he added like a sister character, and that just added a whole nother level of stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is the best version of this story. I wish I could rewrite the short story to match the script now. But I don't know, that would be an odd thing to remake a short story.
Man, it'd probably be a first. But yeah, man, that'd be I mean, that would be cool, though, man. Well, let me ask you this, because, of course, I mean, you are a writer. I mean, you've been writing for how many years, man? I mean, what was it that got you started doing that?
I've been writing since I was a kid. You guys can see this, but Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, that was my childhood, that and Goosebumps. I was obsessively reading when I was a kid and watching movies. So I was writing little short stories based on movies. Actually, for the Indiegogo, when we hit 35%, I filmed myself on VHS reading a short story about the blob coming out of the TV and killing my family. I wrote in the 4th grade. That was like our reward to the backers. So I mean, I've been terminal with this shit since I was a kid. And then as an adult, when I started to get into it more professionally, ended up meeting Brian Keane and a lot of other authors, really well-known horror authors that live in this area. And, then I just became part of the writing and publishing world in addition to movie shit. So I'm in too deep now. I can't get out if I wanted to.
Man, and of course, I mean, I didn't mention where you're from, dude, because you said there's a lot of history. There's a lot of art, as far as the art, there's a lot of books, films. I mean, you name it, man. So, I mean, Pennsylvania, dude. I mean, as far as I've heard of it, I've never been there. I mean, obviously, you grew up there, right? I mean, that's your home?
Yep, Lancaster, PA, the home of the Amish. You guys remember the Amish Mafia on Discovery Channel, all that kind of stuff. That was all in my hometown. For some reason, half of the horror writing community lives in central Pennsylvania. I don't know why. I was like 17, and Brian Keane put out a book called The Rising, which is about zombies. So that was 2003. So between The Walking Dead, The Rising, and 28 Days Later, that's what kicked zombies back into the mainstream. So I remember I was reading an article in Rue Morgue at the bookstore, and I saw a review for this book, and I'm like, a zombie book? Because, would you believe it? Back then, that didn't exist. So I picked up this book, and I'm like, oh, wow, what's this? And I'm reading it, and I'm noticing all these locations, like Lancaster, York, Harrisburg. I'm like, what the
Wait a minute.
And then I found out he lived locally, and I met him at a book signing, and then he introduced me to the entire, like, literary horror world, all for whatever reason. I mean, I understand, like, living in central PA, you got lots to write about when it comes to horror. But it was pretty mind blowing. And then we got the original 50s Blob was shot about an hour from my house in Phoenixville. Nice. You got that. You've got obviously the Pittsburgh Dawn of the Dead shopping mall, the Night of the Living Dead. All that stuff is all in PA. So lots of horror history here.
Man, and have you ever looked into that as far as why? I mean, what happened there that's so influential? As far as getting you guys going, man.
I mean, it's a pretty conservative area. That's probably, I grew up in suburbia, so you gotta have to do what you can to stay sane. And this area can be, it's not as like crazy, like religious zealot as it used to be at one point, but back in like the Columbine days and stuff, it was a really bad time to be a horror fan. But I just, people living in conservative areas, that tends to breed an interest in horror and all that kind of stuff. So, maybe it's just the pushing back against the normies, I guess. I don't know.
Makes sense, man. And of course, I mean, like you mentioned, you guys have been hitting numbers when it comes to Indiegogo, man. And right now, I mean, what's the percentage you guys are at right now?
So we're sitting at 59%. We're right on the brink of 60% of our goal. We're trying to raise $60,000, which is a lot for Indiegogo, but this is a big movie, and the more money we make, the more effects I can do, and the more crazy shit. We're already gonna chainsaw a door down and run over a dude's face with a lawnmower. Like, all sorts of bad stuff happens. So the more money we make, the better. I mean, I've already put about $2,000 or $3,000 of my own money into it. All my royalties from White Doomsday over the years I've been hoarding to do another movie. So
right.
I've got a lot of skin in the game as well. The producers are pitching in money. So $60K is not actually our budget. It's going to be a little bit higher than that. But just so people know, like, it's not us just putting our hands out saying, give us money. We have our own cash wrapped up in this as well.
No, for sure, man. And of course, I was going to post this up real quick now on this, because I read it. And of course, I mean, it's not the actual poster, right? I mean, this is just one of the ones that you guys are using for promotion.
Yeah, so the actual cover art, I mean, that's the Indiegogo version of it, but that is essentially the cover art, yes. Brutal Posters, Chris Barnes did that art for us. He does a lot of Arrow video stuff. He's really, really talented guy. So that's, we might have an alternate poster, I'm not sure. One thing I really would like to do is do for our Video Castle video store, I'd love to do slip covers for the Blu-rays that look like this, so it looks like a rental box, like you rented at a Blockbuster or something. I think that'd be really cool. But we'll see. That's a stretch goal, so we got to make our budget before we can play around with that stuff.
No, for sure. And of course, I mean, the fact that you guys had to make your own VHS tapes, man. I mean, I've seen the pictures, but are all of them pretty much the covers? I mean, they're all the same, or did you guys change them up?
No, so these guys, I don't know if you can read that. This one is for Mennonite of the Living Dead, which is a reference to Lancaster. And then it has the year it was shot. It's got the rating and all the stuff on it. Like, we went nuts. I mean, we did about, I want to say 11 or 12 different ones, because they're background gags, but it's they're all old real splatter movies that we never shot, or sequels. Like, we're doing I'm Dreaming of White Doomsday Part 2, Simon's Quest, which is like a gag. So we're doing we're in the middle of doing a full photo shoot for all of these fake boxes. Excuse me.
Nice.
So we're fully designing the whole video box for all of these movies, because they're going to be featured in the film. And then the Video Castle cases, we have like 200 of them. We only did about 12 different ones, but we can't do 200 individual ones. I mean, I could if I was really insane, but for time purposes, no. But we are coming up with a lot of fake movies, but they all are unique. They have descriptions. They've got a year. They all have backstory, because I'm insane, and backstory that no one will ever know except for me for these fake movies.
And let me ask you, what's going to happen with those tapes once you guys are done?
So actually, you can get how many times can I hold this up on the camera today? There's a perk called Tapehead. So these are screen use. They're going to be signed, and you can actually buy one of these off the Indiegogo, along with Next to Die will have replicas of this, not the original, but all of the movies that we are doing, the fake movies, will have a full cardboard sleeve like this. And then we're doing, I think we have 15 or 20 of those going up on the Indiegogo as well. I think that's the staff picks perk. And they'll come with a styrofoam insert and shrink wrap like the rental cases.
Nice, man.
You get it like Blockbuster like that. So, and they'll all be autographed and all that stuff. And then actually everything also comes with a membership card.
Oh, bro.
Castle, which we're doing personalized ones. So, you get your name on it. If you scan that barcode, it says Real Splatter, which is just a dumb little joke. But these are copyright 1991. Like, I'm a sucker for details like that. So we really went to town.
Man, I was going to say, bro, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's great that you guys did that, because of course, shows what the interest that you guys have. But with something like that, man, let me ask you, bro. I mean, the card, I mean, of course, you say you scan it and it goes to a fake website, or how does that work?
No, it's just a barcode generator. I just made it say Real Splatter. If you had at a store, if you had a scanner, it would come up with that. which literally nobody will. Now that I said it out loud, someone will do it, but it's a completely pointless detail. But you know, I didn't want to just snag a fake barcode off of the internet. I'm like, no, I'm going to make a custom one again because I'm absolutely insane about details. So,
man, well, that's pretty cool, man. I mean, the fact that you pay attention to detail. I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, as far as the films that you've done or videos, I mean, whether they were shorts or feature, do you go back and kind of pick at your own work?
Oh, constantly. You know, they say that you know, your film is never done, you just stop. You just abandon it. And that's true. Like every time I watch, which I don't watch White Doomsday very often anymore. The only time I do is at Christmas time every year. Inevitably, someone wants to do a screening of it or something, so I'll go out and do a Q&A and I'll sit in the audience and watch it. But it's hard to watch your own stuff because all you see are flaws. Yeah. And you see, you know, oh man, I wish I could go back and do this differently. But the thing is, you know, you only know that you would do it differently because you did it this way the first time. You have that experience under your belt now. So it's like I say on Dead Format, there's no way. White Doomsday was how not to make a movie. That's how I learned how not to make a film. I won't make those mistakes on Dead Format. Instead, I'll make a whole bunch of new mistakes that I didn't know.
I was going to say, you'll make a whole bunch of new ones, man. But I mean, that's how you learn, man. And of course, I mean, the fact that you guys have been doing films, or you know, is this what's your like life goal, man? I mean, when it comes to it, I mean, are you just gonna keep pushing these till when?
Till I die, probably. Poor and alone. Yeah, the movie stuff. I mean, I've been doing it since I was a kid, so I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. The idea is I don't really care about making money. I just want to continue make enough money to be able to make new stuff. Yeah. So. Like, for instance, White Doomsday cost $10,000 to make, which for anyone out there listening that's an aspiring filmmaker, do not try to make a feature film for $10,000. This is a horrible idea. That took 4 years to finish that on weekends. It's a horrible way to live. Get a real job and then do movie stuff on the side. That's really what I want. You know, I don't have aspirations to get picked up by like Blumhouse or something and then become a career filmmaker, because the minute that if your livelihood depends on something, then it becomes work, and then you don't want it. You don't want it anymore. Man, I would rather just make things when it's been 7 years since I made White Doomsday, and it burnt myself out pretty bad doing that. So then, you know, I'm coming back to it now because the itch never goes away. You know, it's a compulsion. It's not a choice. But I would rather tell a story when I feel like I have something of something valid to say or something that I'm dealing with, as opposed to just churning out shit constantly, which is fine too. I mean, if you can do that, all the power to you. But for me personally, it's got to be personal. It's got to have meat to it. Right. And also, it's a terrible way to live. So why would you want to continuously make movies?
And I was going to say too, because it does change. I mean, I started doing photography for combat sports, and I was doing it because I wanted to. You know, we had a website, we had our own media company. We just show up, you know, get a media pass, and towards the end, I would say, like, I got hired on. And it changed, bro. It changed my mentality. Like it was just like, now it's like, okay, even though I wanted to go and I would go to all the fights or regional, whatever, like it just turned into a job, and it went south. It went south after that. Actually, like after 2 events, I burned out and I just took a break because I was like, damn, like it just wasn't for me, you know. And it turned out it wasn't what I was after. You know, we all say, even with this, I'm like, man, I want to get sponsors. I want to get this. But at the end of the day, if people are like, okay, you got to do more, you got to do 20 a week, or you got, you know, I'm gonna be like, whoa, I do them at my pace. You know, it's on everybody's schedule, so it's like a lot of times I don't get anything for a week, and you know, it just happens. You know, so I don't think I would want that kind of pressure on me, man.
No, I have a lot of author friends that went full time, and when writing became their full time job, it's like you can't. It's like, shit, I'm having trouble writing this sentence, or I don't have this idea. It's like that's not an option anymore. It's like too late. I don't show up to my day job and be like, oh, I don't know that I can. I'm a shipping coordinator, so I'm like, I don't know if I can ship today. It's like, okay, then you're fired. Yeah, but it doesn't work that way, and then they don't pay my rent, and then I'm screwed. So it's different when you got to grind it out. I feel like the quality goes down. I mean, not everybody's like that, but me personally, I couldn't do it. And like, I became a judge for a lot of film festivals. White Doomsday played all over the place at festivals and won all these awards. So everyone's like, hey, can you come and be part of this festival? Blah, blah. So I'm like, yeah, this will be great. I love movies. I love film festivals. Let me tell you, man, after 2 years of that, it's like if I ever watch a short film again, it'll be too soon. It's hard. It becomes work. It's just work. It becomes work. And it's like movies are an escape from the realities of the world. I don't want it to become my reality all the time, you know?
No, that's true. I never thought about that, but yeah, man. I mean, you got to take a break because, like we mentioned earlier, I mean, I come in here, I go to my studio, my goal already knows, like I'm here. leave me alone. Let me listen to some music. Let me watch a movie. Let me do this. You know, it's my therapy. You know, I come in here to unwind. You know, I work today. I want to come home, put my feet up, and just do this. You know, but yeah, man. I mean, for the most part, I mean, I want to keep like yourself. I want to, you know, as far as the podcast, I want to keep doing it as long as far, you know, as long as I can. I mean, as far as, you know, years. You know, I cover a lot of events, so I get to meet a lot of actors of past, which is freaking great. You know, I'm like a kid, dude. I'm like, oh crap, you know, I'm here talking to this guy, and it's surreal, man. But I mean, the fact that, you know, I'm able to sit back now and just talk to them like people, I'm like, wow, these, you know, everybody's humble, man. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool, man. It's very cool.
And as far as I mean, you said you were, as far as for events, I mean, you did judging, you did movie reviews. I mean, were you doing that as well, or is this just like?
Not like officially. I mean, I used to post a lot of movie reviews on the Real sPidA website and stuff back in the day, but I don't really do that much anymore. Now it's more a movie comes out and then everybody calls or texts me. They're like, hey, what do you think of this before I go and see it? And my answer is always, why do you care? Like, who gives a shit if I like it or not? Go form your own opinion. No one should ever not see something because somebody else told them not to. If I listened to what everybody said about movies, I wouldn't own any of the shit behind me.
Exactly, bro. I'm right with you, man. I got a bunch of VHS and DVDs, and I don't own any Blu-ray. And I just realized that the other day, or somebody was like, "Oh, we're gonna release it only on Blu-ray," and I'm like, "Dude, I don't freaking own any Blu-ray." So I just, you know, stayed at DVD. I mean, I've got a Beta. I've got like, and you talked about that dinosaur camcorder, man. I've got one in my room, dude, and I bought it at a estate sale, complete works. VHS.
See, that's history, man. That's so important to preserve that stuff. That's one of the main themes in the movie is the preservation. He bootlegs tapes, or he archives them. That because there's so many movies that never made it past VHS onto DVD, onto Blu-ray, and it's like if no one remembers these movies, it's like they never existed. It's like hundreds of years of history just is just going to go away eventually, and that's scary. Like streaming services, you know, they take shit down all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that show you loved, it's like it doesn't exist anymore, and no one thinks about that. Physical media is so important.
No,
and you know, you should get a Blu-ray player because all of these releases they're putting out,
I know.
It's like the entire history of these films. So it's like you're buying a museum piece, and it's the best possible quality. It's you know, they got the commentary. I mean, DVD is great. Don't get me wrong. I love my DVDs, but the Blu-rays they're putting out, they're doing these gorgeous interviews and behind-the-scenes stuff, and it's so important to have physical media. Like I mean, it's expensive as hell. That's the downside. Blu-rays are obnoxiously expensive, but you know, it's the preservation of this stuff, man. Like that's what matters. And people, you know, I don't think that people realize that until just like we did with the video stores, we just assume the shit's going to be around forever. When I was rooting through the graves of all these video stores, like, man, I can buy all these tapes for me now. Never thinking that there would be a time when they wouldn't exist anymore. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen to all these movies if people don't watch out. Like, you have to preserve this shit.
No, you see, and I agree because I mean, in conversation a while back too, somebody was like, man, like these streaming services, if you don't have it on DVD or on VHS and it's gone on the streaming service, like, where are you going to watch it? You know, you can go to your room, you can pull the DVD, Blu-ray out and sit down and enjoy it, you know? So, but yeah,
how many times are you getting censored versions on streaming sites and stuff? And you've got you have the unrated VHS of Night of the Demons. Like, fuck you, you're gonna watch this. Like, I got the full eye popping scene. It's not, not censored version.
That's what I'm a sucker for, man. Because I mean, I used to have a whole bunch more, but I used to be a stickler for TV recorded movies, you know, so I could watch the ads and freaking the commercials, and I'm just like. You know, my kids are like, "You're gonna watch these," and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of this." You know, it's just like the whole thing.
Yeah, local commercials, man. We're probably gonna film a commercial for Video Castle, and just because, and it's like I love that stuff.
Dude, that's crazy. A while back, one of the local promoters here, man, he did like a retro, event. You know, so they all dressed up with Blockbuster shirts and did the whole. You know, and it was pretty cool, man. I was just like, all right, you know, showed up, and it gave you that whole nostalgic feeling, you know. I don't own it anymore. Actually, that one promoter owns it, but I had an actual Blockbuster rug that a buddy of mine in Alaska. I mean, he was out there. I was real big into vintage action figures, man, and I had like 2 carded like Masters of the Universe. You know, he wanted them, and I'm like, dude. And he was like, "Hey man, you collect VHS, but and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey man, I got this carpet you might like." So he sent me a picture, And he's like, I'll trade you for this. And I said, okay, yeah, cool, man. Like, you know, I mean, because those figures I found here cheap, bro. I found them for like nickels and dimes in card, mind you. So I shipped them. A month later, like I get this big old freaking long box, you know, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And dude, I had no idea the carpet was that big, bro. I thought it was like a little store, and it was like the whole thing. It was like a 6x8 blockbuster,
Wow.
bro. It was huge.
That's amazing.
So I rolled it out, and I was like, holy damn, dude, like what the hell? And he's like, yeah, man, I told you. And I said, yeah, but I thought it was like a small doormat or something. And he was like, nah, bro, it was like the actual store a rug.
That is fantastic. I had a guy, a fan came to a White Doomsday screening, and I had done a podcast where I forget how it came up, but I was talking about like my first VHS tapes that I had as a kid. It was Dr. Fives Rises Again, the Vincent Price movie, and Arachnophobia. So I was talking about how much I love Arachnophobia. I used to watch it all the time as a kid, whatever. So like this is like 6-7 months later, I'm doing a screening of White Doomsday, and this guy comes in with this giant box, and he's like, "Hey, Mike, I have something for you. I've been holding on to this since I was in college." And he's like, I think that you would appreciate this. And he dumps the box out, and it was a 12-foot it was 12x6 vinyl banner of Arachnophobia coming soon to video cassette.
Oh,
and it was like an outdoor banner that was hanging on the outside of the video store he worked at in college, and like my head exploded.
Dude,
so one day I'll put it up. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's so monstrously large, but it's in my living room right now, rolled up.
Man, I'm a sucker for spider films, dude. Like, I mean, I've watched Ice Spider. I've watched, I mean, you name it, bro. Like every time I see a spider, I'm like, dude, I gotta watch this. Well, check this out, bro. I actually showed it yesterday, but this is a video store display artifact, dude, and I picked it up a while back.
Dude, that's amazing.
Look at that.
And that is mint.
The reason that I picked it up, bro, because I was an action figure collector. Look at that. It's made by Remco.
Oh, man.
But this bad boy, like when I saw it, I looked it up and I was like, man, I wonder if I can find it. And I found somebody on social media, man. They had it. And I'm like, bro, like, what do you want? And he says, oh, man, like, what do you have? So I showed him, like I said, I had like action figures galore. And he was like, dude, I'll trade you for these. And I'm like, done. So I shipped them. He sent me this bad boy, but I have them displayed. I had them out from yesterday, but I have them in a little glass display, man. But this is my, dude, I love this, bro. I'm like this is one of my favorite movies, man.
Incredible. I found when I got my when the COVID vaccine first rolled out, they turned our shop, an old department store in the mall, into a vaccination center. So I was getting my shot, and the nurse is sitting there, waiting for the 15 minutes, and she's looking at my tattoos. She's like, my son, he passed away, but he used to be really into horror movies. He used to work at the video store. So we're talking, and she's like, I have a lot of his stuff down in the basement,
Oh, man.
And she's like, I've got this thing. I don't know if you'd ever want it, but it was this guy with like these sharp fingers or something. And I'm like, here's my email, not thinking anything of it. And like a year later, I get an email from this random woman, and she's like, hey, you probably don't remember me, but here's that thing I was talking about. It was a giant, it was like 6 feet tall. It was a Nightmare on Elm Street 3 video store display, the standee.
Bro.
So I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, do you want it? So I bought it off of her, and she's like, well, and I told her, I'm like, look, this is worth like probably $600 or $700. So I don't want to lowball you here. And she's like, no, just give me $50. You would appreciate it.
Ooh,
so I gave it to a friend of mine because I didn't have where to put it, but she's got it on display now. But I'm like, man,
damn. You see, man, and that's what I like, because when doing these deliveries for Big Lots, I deliver furniture, man, and like I'm in people's houses, I'm setting up, and something will catch my eye, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. And in conversation, man, they're like, oh yeah, well, I was a manager at so-and-so store, and I'm like, really? I was like, dude, do you have any, do you happen to have any stuff? And yeah, I got a couple pieces, man, and they'll bring them, and they're like, dude, if you want them, and I'm like, yeah, bro, like I'll take them,
I'll see while you work. That's the dream.
And that's why I don't know if you can see this one, man, but it's let me see if I can get it on that camera angle. You see that yellow one back there?
Yes.
It's the Jason versus Freddy Video Central.
Oh, that's cool.
Those are the ones that they used to hang them from the ceiling. So when you walked in, they were hanging. They're like a stock card. Those things are hard, man. But I actually got it autographed the other day too, man. But it's just, when I saw those, I was actually delivering for a customer, and he was like, yeah, man, I had a VHS case that I picked up at a garage sale, and it was in the front seat. So when he was paying out, he was like, oh, man, that's pretty cool. That's a good movie. And I said, yeah, bro. I said, I collect VHS. And he's like, man, I used to work for Video Central. And I'm like, ding, like, oh yeah, like, you know, like, and I'm like, yeah, bro. I said, I collect. I mean, man, you don't have any posters? And he's like, yeah, dude, I actually got some posters, man, if you want them. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like, you know, and he came out with those, and I was just like, bro, like, and I said, dude, what do you want for him? And he said, nah, man, you can have them. And I said, you know what, man, I give him his delivery money back. And I said, bro, like, consider it paid in full, man. And he's like, you sure? And I was like, yes, dude, like, this is like way more than what I'm, you know, I charged him like 75, you know, and I'm like, dude, I want these, you know, I'll take them. He was happy. I was freaking ecstatic, dude. I was like, hell yeah, dude, like, where else are you gonna find those, man? Because he said he had more. And he's like, man, I've just thrown them away. And I was like, damn, dude, like, you never know, man. There's so many people out there that just have stuff, you know. But
yeah, you never know. I had a guy who the book that I published, the short story collection that all these stories are in, Please Don't Tap on the Glass. I was selling copies on Facebook, so I'm like, hey, if you guys want to sign a copy, you know, hit me up and I'll ship them. So this one dude's like, oh, actually, you know, I'm close to you. You mind if I come meet you? He met me at Target where I was working at the time, and he's like, hey, I have something here. He's like, I always see you posting about these horror movies, so I've had this. I've had this since college. It's always the way I hear. So he's like, yeah, I don't know if you'd be interested in this poster, but you can have it. And he just like gave it to me. I didn't open it. I went home and I unrolled it. It was Phantasm 3 like video store poster. It's like coming soon to video. And I was like, oh my God, that's like my favorite Phantasm movie. And I was like, no way. And he's like, and I messaged him. He's like, you know what that movie is? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course I know what that movie is.
Dude, yeah, you see, and I mean, as far as like the podcast name coming soon, that's where I got it from, bro. You know,
Awesome.
when I started this like a few months back, you know, we were like, me and my buddy were like, man, let's do this, and you know, what do we want to name it? And I said, you know what, dude, I'm just gonna put coming soon on there for now, and when we decide. And the more and more I looked at it, and I was like, coming soon, and I said, you know what, bro? I said, I'm gonna run with coming soon podcast, bro, because every time all the posters I have are from video stores, so all of them are coming soon to VHS, coming soon to, you know, I was just like, bro, like I'm gonna stick with this, man. It was just, you know, it's a key word. I like it. It's simple. People remember it, so I'll say, why not, bro? But
yeah, when I saw the logo, I was like, that's cool. I was like, okay, these are my people.
Man, it's simple, but you know, it's like I go out there. A lot of these actors are like, coming soon. When is it gonna get here? And I'm like, as soon as I step in, man, I'm like, what's up, you know? And they get a kick out of it, man. But they remember though, bro. Like I'll be like, yeah, just look me up on the Coming Soon podcast, and they'll find me on Instagram. Hey, you know, easy to remember, and you know, I dig it, man. So why not?
Very nice.
But bro, I mean, but of course, man. I mean, you said as far as your collectibles, man. I mean, is there one piece that you own that you just, I mean, your grail, bro, regardless of whether other people want it?
That's a great question. I have so much junk. It's all downstairs for the most part. But one of my most prized possessions. I'm a huge vintage video game collector too. I have like a big Carnival arcade machine in my living room. One of my big treasures is I have it right here. I have a couple. So I've got my all-time favorite game, Harvester, which is one of the most vile things ever created. This game is a live action game. It's so unbelievably disgusting. It's like if David Lynch teamed up with like if Twin Peaks was written by Jeffrey Dahmer, that would be this game.
Man. Okay.
So this is like super valuable. And then I'm a huge Aliens geek. So this is an old DOS game that they only made, I think, like 15 or 20,000 copies, and then they got sued because they didn't have the license. So they got pulled, but only X number of copies exist, and then half of them have a different cover. But like, I spent years trying to find this, and terrible game, but huge fan. So I like the big box PC games or like VHS tapes. The artwork is just actually another one that's really big. Actually, I emailed Jeff Burr about this, the Pumpkinhead 2 video game. So I sent him an email because I'd met him on the film festival circuit for Doomsday, the director of this movie. Jeff Burr, if you're not familiar, great guy. Well, he just passed away recently, but super cool dude. And he was like, he thought I liked 90s Nickelodeon. So he's like, oh my God, I directed Land of the Lost and Big Bad Beetleborgs, and he got my address and sent me all the original scripts and everything. Wow. So I had like a back and forth. He's super cool dude. So I emailed him a picture of this, and I'm like, dude, check out what I just bought. And he said, why the hell would you buy that?
Oh man, bro.
Awful game, but you know, I own it now. I don't think many people know there's a Pumpkinhead 2 video game.
Man, that's pretty. I mean, yeah, man, because there's a lot of like, I mean, I got man, I got really, really big with freaking Nintendo for a minute too, man, and I had like over 500 and something games.
Oh
Um,
wow.
a few were few were doubles, but it was because like out in the wild, dude. Like I went to this toy convention. It's the first booth I went to. I said, I went in there. I see two Nintendo, cartridges, and I look and I'm like, holy crap! So I grab them and I'm like, hey, dude, how much are these? And he's like, $5. I'm like, I paid him. I walked away and I'm looking at them, and it was one was the Jetsons Nintendo,
Mhm.
and the other one was the Flintstones. Now the thing with those is that the stories that it was towards the end, and they were just like, man, let's making whatever. And it didn't sell. Nobody picked them up, so they were rare as shit, dude. And I had them in boxes, bro. And the people they were going for like $250,
Oh,
$450, man. And stuff like that. I just kept. Because of that, I started doing this with a buddy of mine here locally, man. Yuri's Creation. I started. These are 3D prints, but what I do is I add the actual movie cover and I get them autographed by the actors.
oh, dude, that is awesome.
Look at that, bro. It's just like a 3D print, and it's like, I mean, wall mounts. But
Dude,
I've
you have to
got-
send me the link to that after the show. That is awesome.
dude, and like I've been doing it for like 3 months, but I've got like every movie, every character, every person that's been coming through here, bro.
Wow.
I've got like all of them autographed, all of them like one of one. Like they see them and they're like, "Is this real?" And I'm like, "No, dude." I said, "They're 3D prints," and they love them, dude. They're like, "Bro, like, where can I get some?" Like I sent them to my buddy, and I'm like, "Yeah, he makes them," and it's just.
That is awesome. Does he do just straight up video game ones as well, or just
No, he
movies?
does like any dude. He does as far as like anything that he can 3D print, man. He'll just put the label. But
That's so cool. There's a couple of Nintendo games that I would absolutely kill to have printed. Like that's awesome.
no, yeah, but he's but yeah, I started doing that, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna collect these, man. I mean, it's just different, nobody else has them. I mean, when people see them, they're like, man, are those real? I'm like, nah, bro, I wish, I wouldn't have playing Pet Cemetery on freaking NES.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, dude. I mean, but the whole thing too is nostalgic, man. I mean, I grew, I didn't go past Nintendo. I know we owned the Super Nintendo, like, for a while, but I didn't get on that, so I just stopped at Nintendo. It just so for me, that's mine. That's my game. We have an original Atari with like 64 like cartridges, still works. I have it hooked up to my TV. Turntable. I've got an 8-track player that still works, man. I got 8-track. It's just media, bro. Like that's what I was saying when I saw the name of the movie, and I said that format. I was like, dude, that makes I like it because they were like, okay, that's pretty much
pretty well acquainted. That's awesome, man.
But cool, man. But of course, bro. I mean, as far as your the dates for what are you looking at as far as the film being ready?
So that's a great question. The crowdfunder ends in about 3 weeks, and then after that, we really start hitting pre-production with casting and all that kind of stuff. So the idea is to hopefully start shooting like late fall, realistically probably closer to springtime, and then hopefully have it out summer next fall, something like that, and then hit the film fest circuit.
Sweet.
So
we'll see. And of course, I mean, once it's finished, I mean, of course, are you guys gonna hold on to it, like to have it at local theaters, or are you guys looking for?
Oh yeah, well, we're gonna hit our goal is to try to get into Arrow Video does a film festival in the UK called Fright Fest. So nice. I was the star of a documentary called The Brilliant Terror about indie filmmaking, and it world premiered at Fright Fest, which is like huge top tier festival, and my passport came a day late, so I couldn't go. So while the filmmakers were there, Alan Jones, the guy that runs it, was like, "Where's Mike?" And he kept tweeting to me, like, "Get over here!" And he said, "Make a movie we can play at Fright Fest." So I'm hoping that he still wants to he'll play dead format there. We're looking at like that, Fantasia, Fantastic Fest, like all the big genre festivals. We're going to try to get into those, which I mean, every filmmaker says that, and very few ever do, but gotta dream big. So we get into those, and then we'll do physical media releases. Obviously, we have a VHS that's going to be available in the Kickstarter right now, so there's going to be some stuff like that too. But it'll definitely be around.
Nice, bro. And of course, I mean, when you say as far as platforms, I mean, will it be streaming as well?
That remains to be seen. I mean, we're gonna get distribution. So White Doomsday came out through Scream Team Releasing, and they did VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and then it just went streaming like a year or two ago. So I would imagine that this will probably have a very similar life cycle to that. I mean, I'm not a fan of streaming personally because they screw the filmmakers, but you know, it's 2024. You can't not do it. So it will probably end up on streaming eventually.
No, yeah, you see, and that's the thing too, because a lot of directors, writers, people that are out there making these films. I mean, they keep saying how the pay's gotten low and it keeps getting lower, and it's just like, like 1 million views and you're still only making dollars, so it's just like, man, I mean, physical media is where it's at when it comes to like making actual money, because you sell the VHS, you sell that DVD, and
absolutely. And then it becomes part of someone's collection. And like, there are people that message me every year. They're like, dude, I watched I'm Dreaming of White Doomsday every year at Christmas, our tradition with our family. I don't know why you would do that, but it's a really depressing movie. But they say that they're like, they send pictures of the Blu-rays. They put it up with like, they make like with stockings and crap around it. They make little sets. It's real nice. But the, to put in perspective for you with streaming, not to get too in depth here, but so this year at Christmas time, Bloody Disgusting. I mean, you're familiar with Bloody Disgusting, right? It's one of the biggest horror websites on the internet. They did their top Christmas horror movies. So they did it different. They did the 7 days of Christmas, or Creepmas is what they call it. 10 days of Creepmas. So every day it was a different theme. So for the day that they did sci-fi horror, I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday, they featured that as the #1 movie, which my phone exploded that day. I had no idea, and people started messaging me like, dude, you're on Bloody Disgusting. And I was like, huh? And I saw it. I was like, oh my God, this is huge. So I was like, well, at the very least, they had a link to streaming. I'm like, I'm going to be rolling in money right now. Right. So get my quarterly sales report from our streaming services. I made $78, which sounds like, I mean, that's not bad. I mean, I'm not going to complain. $78 is $78. When I broke it down and did the math, that means that almost 20,000 people watched it. And it came out to $78. Wow. I could have sold 4 Blu-rays, which I would do in 20 minutes at a convention or a film festival, and made more money. Yeah. Now, the advantage is that's, 20,000 people saw the movie that didn't see it before, presumably. So, like, it's still cool. But if you're coming at this trying to make a living off of it, yeah, streaming, what is it the kids say? It ain't it.
No, yeah. Dude, that's wow, man, that's mind blowing, bro. Because I mean, it's just like with anything else, I mean, when it comes to for myself, when I do deliveries, it's like paid up as soon as I get there, I get paid, bro. It's cash, and that's what I want. Everybody keeps the beginning. Everybody's like, oh, go with this company and go, and I'm like, man, everybody's taking money. They're taking money here, taking money. By the time I got to put money in my pocket, it was like less than half. So I'm like, nah, dude, I'm gonna do it on my own, and I did. I got insured, I got commercial insurance, I got registered, and that was it, man. Like I just made money. Makes sense.
Yourself. That's the difference between you and other people is you got the drive and the know how to do it. So do it, man. That's great.
No, man, but damn, dude. I mean, that's kind of that is sad, bro. I mean, it's like $78, and I get it, man. More people saw it, but I mean, like you said, when it comes to actually getting compensated or getting something back, because of course, you guys put your own money into invest your own money into this as well. It's just, it'd be a lot nicer. Just it would have been cool if they would have said, okay, you know what, 20,000 people saw it. Okay, well, 10,000 are going to buy the DVD. Okay, well, sure, now we're talking, like.
But that's not how it works anymore, because streaming, people are like, oh, I'll just wait and watch it for free. Which, if there was a movie that I was like, yeah, I want to see this, and I had the option to watch it for free, I'm going to watch it for free. I'm not above that. I'm not going to say that I'm some moral crusader that's against people watching things in their homes like that. But it sucks for the filmmaker. So I say to people, if you like something, support it. Like, buy it. Post about it, message the creators, tell them that you liked whatever they made. You don't know what that comment could be the thing that stops that person from quitting that day. I say that about that all the time. It's like people, they watch things and then they're like, oh, I love this movie so much. And it's like, why did you wait 10 years to say that? Like, tell the people, let them know. I'm not talking about myself, but I just mean in general, as anybody, it's like, let them know that you appreciate the work they're doing, because they're probably not making dick off of it. So at the very least, they know that it's connecting with people, and that's just as important as the money.
No, I hear you, man, and that's true, because like they say, even on social media, it doesn't cost anything to share something. Just hit the share button, boom, that's it, bro. Like comment, and that's another thing I guess that's going around too now. It's just like everybody's like, hey, make sure you comment something, because now with the algorithm, it's like you gotta that's how you get it out there. And I'm like, okay, well, and so I do. I mean, for the most part, I heart everything, and I just, comment something, because it's like, well, if it's going to help out even in that little bit, then why not? It's not
Dude,
costing me
sharing
anything.
and commenting is such a huge help. Like, even with the Indiegogo, when people post it and repost it, that boosts our visibility. Like on the Indiegogo page, we were the #1 campaign for the first 3 days because so many people shared it. And like, that's huge. That got us a huge bunch of money right off the bat. And it's like, people think it doesn't matter, but it really does. Like, the algorithm on Facebook especially is awful. So you got to find ways to bust through it. And, it's all about people liking, sharing, and engaging.
No, that's true, man. And that's pretty much where I come in, when it comes to like posting and networking and advertising and just promoting everything. I do what I can. I have 5 platforms. I mean, this itself is going live. I'm on 5 different platforms. It's going straight to YouTube for those that are watching. It's on Instagram, all around, like throughout the month. I get about 300,000 hits, man. And it's just throughout the world, dude. I mean, I've been networking to where my stream's going to the Philippines, it's going to Australia, it's going to the UK, and it's just like, why not, bro? I want everybody else to see this, So
yeah, that's awesome, dude.
It's a wild time, man. But I mean, my goal is to be able to reach as many people as possible and grow with everybody. We all want to be out there and do what we do. I mean, I said I wouldn't work for anybody, but if somebody wanted to throw me $1 million, why not? I'll take it, man. Why not?
That's the thing. I tell people, like, man, what if Steven Spielberg came up to you with like $5 million to make a movie? I'm like, I would sign that check so fast your head would spin. I'd sell out in a heartbeat.
Like,
they're like, I'm not stupid. Like,
oh yeah, bro. But yeah,
I wouldn't like it, but I'd do it. Like, I'm not dumb. That's it's money is important as well. As much as I do it for the art and the love, but you still need money or you can't do any of it. Like, that's the problem.
Exactly. And that's kind of where it goes down to. I mean, I like going to conventions. For the most part, a lot of the locals here are in Texas. I get media passes, so I don't pay to go in, but I promote the hell out of them, dude, and I make sure other people join and show up. And I mean, I'm always supporting everybody, and it helps, dude, because it helps me, like I said, along the way. So it's just like, we're all trying to get somewhere, and someday we will. So we'll keep picking at it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Bit by bit, you got to build an audience. You build a network. It's important.
No, for sure, man. But bro, I mean, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for jumping on this. I mean, as far as the film, let us know where can everybody find you guys at.
So my regular website is realsplatter.com. That's real with 2 E's, like a reel of film, because we shoot digitally, so that makes perfect sense.
Nice.
And you can, most importantly, find Dead Format on Indiegogo. Just type in Dead Format, it will pop up. Big Grim Reaper with holding a VHS tape, can't miss it. We got 3 weeks of the campaign left. Please donate. We need all the help we can get. Even $5 makes a difference. Share it. Let's get it out there. And you can find me on Twitter, Facebook. I'm all over the place. Search Mike Lombardo. You'll find me. Although if you Google Mike Lombardo, I am not the YouTube musician who ran the FBI. I won't say what he did, but that was a fun thing to find out. I'm like, oh, cool. Someone who has my name is now in prison for that. That's awesome. So not that Mike Lombardo. I'm the horror movie director, Mike Lombardo.
No, yeah. I actually, when I tried finding you on Instagram, he popped up, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I just got an angry email a few months ago from someone like, are you the? And I was like, no, different guy. However, you should check out realsplatter.com. Our movie on He didn't respond, so I don't think he thought that was very funny. But
man, bro, well, man, I mean, just like I mentioned, dude. I mean, even just talking to you, man. I mean, this film, I'm definitely interested in it. I'm gonna contribute. I'm definitely gonna go out there, man, and do what I can as far as promoting, sharing, and putting you guys out there, man. But thank you for jumping on this, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for having me. This is a great time, dude. Thank you.
Not a problem. Don't hang up yet, brother. Everybody out there, of course, once again, this is sPidA Coming Soon Podcast. Till